Now, we got some honorable mentions. These don't belong to either of us, but they interact a lot with our muses, or our 2Ps, and they've kind of integrated themselves into our little circle. These are different from how other people portray them, and we really like their take on the character.
Yes.
Because, as we mentioned with Alex and Alexander, since there's so many of the same character on Tumblr, it really depends on who you're interacting with and how they'll take each other. But we've kind of figured that some of them will just take them in as different parts of one large family.
Mm-hmm.
Like with Alex being Alexander's
Cousin.
estranged cousin.
Weird cousin.
The weird cousin.
That one you kind of don't want to come to your family reunion, but they do anyway, and they're very loud.
They're very loud, and they're very exuberant, and they're eccentric, and they eat all the fried chicken.
Yes.
You realize how long I spent on that fried chicken? I spent 4 hours breading these bleeding chickens. All of these chickens, and you had to go and eat 3 of them by yourself.
Well, to be fair, I ate 2. Eek's got that one.
So you're saying your chicken's a cannibal?
Yeah, I thought that was obvious.
And what kind of fancy diet requires you to eat 12 pounds of chicken?
I don't know, man. He just really likes it. Look at him go.
I'm
Oh my god, he's
you,
eating that corn.
small fry.
Eeks is just pecking stuff nearby. Just everything. Just like, Bach. It's like, yeah, look at him. He's gonna be big and strong.
I'm talking to you, Alex.
What?
You eating 2 of them. What in God's name made you think that whatever fancy diet you're on now required you to eat 12 pounds of chicken in one sitting?
I eat whatever Eeks eats.
He's a chicken.
Yeah?
I've seen chickens eat pebbles.
And I eat pebbles.
Why would you eat pebbles? You don't need any help grinding any grain up.
No?
Oh my
But
god.
he was self-conscious, so I was like, hey buddy, I'll eat whatever you eat. So...
Christ in heaven, please help me, forgive me for my discretions, but you have forced it upon me, an idiot in my family.
Yeah... Oliver's kind of a meh. I agree with you there.
Oh, bless your heart. Okay.
Wince at him.
Whoops. Anyway.
That happens a lot. Go men.
Yeah. Whoops. Anyhow, let's start with these honorable mentions.
Yes.
Let's start with Iosif, a 2P Russia. He lives underground in a warren. That's basically, he wanted to get away from the surface because it's barren. He has better luck underground because there's underground water sources that he can tap into. He tunnels and tunnels and tunnels, and he's basically sort of like a humanoid Rossetti from Animal Crossing, minus half of the loudness. He doesn't emote very much. He's kind of physically passive, and he doesn't like to be touched very much. He's kind of like a rabbit in that case. Hell, Vanya calls him Zaychik. My little bunny, or my little hare, and it drives him nuts. He can't really feel pain, cold, or heat. That does not necessarily mean he's invulnerable. It means his nerve endings are shot. He can't really feel much. And while it's nice because he lives underground, he doesn't really need to worry about feeling cold, it doesn't mean that he isn't susceptible to hypothermia. And it makes the old man worry. He has a weird fascination with collecting bones and taxidermy, so he'll pose animals that he finds out in the woods that are already dead. He stuffs their bodies and then has them posed down in his warren. The said warren also stretches for miles and miles. There's a tunnel leading directly to Vanya's basement, and they update each other's maps on where traps are and tunnels because Vanya keeps falling into them and getting stuck. So imagine as this 6-foot man up to his ribcage in dirt as his legs kick furiously in a tunnel that's 10 feet underground and he can't touch the bottom. Yeah. That's happened more than once. He has a, let's see, where was I? Oh yeah, he has no moral attachment about things like stealing, sex. He's very blunt. He doesn't read emotions very well. Because he's kind of isolated underground. Like, that tunnel leading to Vanya's basement, he didn't tell Vanya that he was putting it there. He just did it, and popped up in Vanya's house one night. You see that picture down there? That with those bright red eyes? Good lord. That was startling on everyone's behalf. He also likes to play around with women's makeup every so often. Because he can.
And he's pale as fuck.
He's very, very pale because he spends all of his time underground. And I guess occasionally he just wants to feel pretty. Well, good on him, I guess. He's also very large. He's physically larger than Vanya, and Vanya's about 6'3", and oscillates between 180 and 200 pounds. But because he slouches from his bad back, he only comes up to about 6 feet. Iosif is about 6'5", and about 220 pounds. He can put you in the ground if he wants. Literally.
What?
Yeah. And Iosif has taken Vanya's first name as his patronymic, so he basically adopted Vanya as his dad. Vanya's also one of the only people that is allowed to touch him physically. Usually for things like, checking for injuries, or friendly pats on the shoulder, or picking him up and carrying him in one case. Iosif doesn't like to be touched and has punched people for touching him, so that's a lot of ground that he gives the old man.
Yep.
He's a lot of fun. He really is.
Dad.
Creepy, but a lot of fun.
Dad. But now here comes mine. This one I haven't interacted with too much, but it was just a really fascinating arc that I couldn't stop from mentioning, because it is kind of different from what I've seen. This is Thomas. He's a 2P England. Yes, it's Thomas, not Oliver, because not all the names need to be exactly like they're like Siegfried, so on. Yes.
They're not canon.
Yes, just because Beak said it don't mean it canon. So, Thomas. He's a dimension hopper. Because, really, he's not from the 1P world either. He's not from this 2P world either. He's from one of his own. It's fucked up in its own ways, and he didn't like it, so used magic, and off he go. And when he found the world he likes, this being mostly the 1P world he is mostly stationed at, he stayed and makes a living with, like, getting a business, and he adopted into a really rich family, because, you know, it was an orphan kid with pretty good money. And, you know, it was sad. And it looked a lot like his old family back home. So he's like, oh my god, yes. So he basically helped raise him, and now he's really into really big business and has enough wealth to spread around, and he even gets into, like, really big festive party competitions with a 2P from France he knows. They just, you know, argue as, oh, aunt and uncle, Thomas and Violet, yeah. It's fun, but, like, he does go back home, you know, he takes some resources, not all, but just some small stuff he can bring back to his home to help things out for his family, and, you know, make sure that things aren't going to hell without him. But he mostly likes staying in there, and when he sees other people not from that world, like the 2Ps from this world, he tries to help them out to stay, especially if they come from a really fucked up world, and if it helps out his family even. If it's any beneficial to him and his new family, then he's like, yeah. He usually keeps it a secret unless it's an emergency, because if anyone knew he had that kind of ability, that would get a lot of chaos, so he tries to keep it a secret if he can. But he does try to remain supportive to, well, everyone. And also he tries to experiment a lot.
That's awfully nice of him.
Yeah, he's a good guy. Like, his name may be Murder Cakes, but he doesn't actually do that much murdering. A lot of people think that he's got weird stuff going on, but it's like, no. Like, and his world is literally tinted red from a lot of weird, like, chemicals, so it looks like there's blood everywhere. It's like, no, that's just, that's natural for me.
Jesus. That sounds deeply unpleasant.
Yep, but he's a good guy.
What really bothers me about about 2P England's, at least some of them,
What?
they kind of ride the whole tainted cupcake thing a little too hard.
Yeah.
And it sounds like from what you were talking about, this one has got more personality than I've poisoned my cake. That has human blood in it, but you would never have guessed from how sweet it is. I'm so brutally mad.
Haha. And also, yeah. But he's not strictly all the, oh, goody two-shoes wilting flower one either, no. He's got more things than that. Like, he really only tries to help out if there's a legitimate reason for it. Like, if like, for example, letting Siegfried be able to dimension portal across. He'd really only do that if it actually benefited somebody. Like, it sort of did to his family, but at the same time, it'd also make him sad. So it's like, okay, thing is, only he can come over, nobody else. Because if they do, it's gonna make my family sad. Because they don't want Luciano around here, so, yeah. So it's really to his own benefit. It's like, if his family's family, he's happy.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah. And again, I haven't really interacted enough to see if he does have a more violent-y side. Because, again, I've only seen him in his pacifist mode. Who knows? It could be like Vanya and gets very violent when very provoked.
Well, usually Vanya has good reason to it. You don't fuck with his family.
Mm-hmm.
Period. Don't do it.
I imagine Thomas is the same. So, that's that.
Considering how his motivation usually is taking care of his family and his home, I can really see that. Though you have the added benefit of magics.
Yeah, magics and dimension hopping.
Speaking of dimension hopping, we come to our final honorable mention. And this is a very old one. Goodness. This is Hendrik, a 2P that is very dear to my heart. He is a 2P Netherlands, actually. From back in the day when the 2Ps just came out, and Netherlands, I think, had just been introduced. So, basically a friend of mine had created a Netherlands and wrote them one way. And then the canon one came out, and she realized that while all of her research was correct, it didn't fit the character very well. And the 2Ps at the time are considered sort of alternate histories or the other side of a coin to the canon ones. And so, Hendrik became 2P Netherlands. He was spawned from the, kind of from the 80 Years' War. Basically, he never was able to regain his independence from Spain, and he got traded back and forth between Spain, France, the Austrian Empire, and so on and so forth. And if he was basically everybody's henchman, and he hated it. And one night, he just said, fuck it. I don't care. If I make it out of this alive, that's great, but if not, it's better than being stuck with you guys. And he flipped the bird, basically, as he jumped backwards into the river, and he didn't care if he came back up again. Initially, he was just hoping to drown himself. But instead, he washed ashore around, I think, the mid-1800s? Up in a dike somewhere. I can't remember off the top of my head because this was years ago. And he was really the first 2P that I encountered with this sort of river-crossing headcanon, and that's where I got mine from. This is all from Hendrik, or Henny, as I call him. He wore his emotions on his sleeve, and he was very calm, very laid back. He was very open on expressing himself. And he had no problems helping people or being generous with his money. And he was very poor. Because when he crossed over, he crossed over in the middle of the aftermath of basically Napoleon coming through, and he helped with cleaning up and helping Netherlands himself get back on his feet. Eventually, though, he was able to live out his life as a human being, including having a family. Eventually, he became a full human, which canonly happens to nations if they give up their nationhood willingly. And he died in the 60s. A actually happy man. And it kind of... Yeah, he had a happy ending. Bittersweet, but happy ending. I love this guy. And he basically set the foundations for all of the 2P headcanons that I personally use and now have shared with Kyo.
And now I share with you, because they were so great. I can... Dig's not really much into it, but that's okay, because that's what they do.
Everyone's allowed to have their own headcanon, so feel free to share yours down below.
Yes, this is just our version, well, technically second version. You heard my version. And me and Dig are actually going to... It's been a long while since we actually made the 2P one, so we added stuff, and we actually added more characters that we thought about. So we're going to be adding that later. Also, another shout out to Leader of the 2P Axis. This is also a pretty good Luciano I've encountered with. So if you're looking for a, like, decent Luciano, because Dig don't do it. Like, that one's more based on very social anxiety Luciano. Of vulnerability and must hide, I'm gonna stab. Yes. Like, a small brat who just tries to act big when he's not. They're pretty decent.
He's a lot of fun to tease.
Yes. Vanya threatened to throw him in the river once, and he's like, holy shit!
Yeah, initially Vanya couldn't tell them apart. His eyes are starting to go, and all he saw was the uniform, the red eyes, the tone of voice, and he was just like, no, no, and he was gonna toss him straight into the river. Concrete shoes and all.
And Siegfried's like, no, don't touch, this ain't the one. And then the one actually showed up, and then in Alaska threw Luciano back into the river.
Oh, technically Siegfried told her to do that.
Yep, it's true. By Siegfried's request.
That's a whole nother story, and I don't think we need to get into that, because this is all about 2Ps.
Yeah, 2Ps, woo! But yeah, I mean, yes, that is...
Well-written 2Ps!
Yay!
Which can be surprisingly difficult to find.
Yes.
It's getting better, though. When I first started in the group, it was about 2012, 2013, during the really big boom of 2Ps, and you had 2P everything. 2P Mexico City, I remember. 2P Denmark. That was an okay one. 2P Antarctica.
Dude, I still see those these days.
And all of them were very murder happy, very stab happy, or had mental illnesses slapped on there. Basically, they were being used as an excuse for people to get their murder boners out.
Yep.
Things have changed now. The people who were doing that have grown up and either changed the fundamental way they RP as those characters, or let them go by the wayside. So not very many people have hung on to them, but who has are very good at what they do.
Yep. And any final thoughts on anything?
I would like to do a little bit of hype, because he finally figured out a 2P Russia.
Yes, 2P Russia has been figured out.
Along with how Vanya would treat him. Basically like Iosif. Hello there! Hello there! I don't know you very well, but okay. You look hungry. I will give you food. Goodbye! And away he go.
Basically. And Russia's like, okay, that happened.
Free food though.
Yay.
Cute dog.
Yes, he has a Samoyed and it's cute. It's smiley. But he also goes borf.
Bork, 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 bork.
Pretty much. Boof.
Gaff, gaff.
But yeah, let's see. Also, trying to think. And it's like, again, someday I want to make a game with this concept because it's really fucking neat. Because it's like, on the one hand, I do want to make a... Like, there's probably going to be 2 different 2P games I'm going to make. I'm going to make one with Dig with our version, and then another 2P game with this version. Because they're both good. I can't choose.
Well, if it makes you feel better, I'm in the middle of making one.
Yes, I'm excited for it.
I know you're excited. Tame thy thirst.
Yeah. I had an idea for one with Alexander as a villain, and we also got Sweden involved. It was neat.
You'll have to tell me after this is done.
Actually, I told you a long time ago, and it was neat.
Yeah, but con happened.
That's true.
You had to tell me again.
Siegmund
But anyway, we need to wrap this up.
Yes, goodness gracious. So thank you all for listening to this version. I hope you guys like it. And I'm gonna be coming back to videos soon. Like, probably in a few days. Whenever.
How are you feeling?
Like, I'm feeling better. Dig's still got a cough and still going through some stuff. So, we'll be back to it soon.
Okay, that's
Word.
good.
But yeah, I'm going up and going again. I can't really do much creative stuff, but I can at least do videos again. I might start doing collabs again, because a lot of people have been requesting it lately, so I might do a collab month or something, so...
Do I count, or am I exhausted at this point?
No, you count.
Yeah!
Yeah! And this also counts too. So you get stuff. Yes! Yes!
Okay.
Yeah, so thank you all very much for listening. And have a good day, everybody. Bye!
Bye!